Good morning. My name is Jeneen Stewart Beck. I'm Jeneen Cares, where we are caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth of the future. And so I've been joined and grateful to be joined by so many legacy leaders from Frederick County, from around the state. And I'm excited to be here with another board member. This is the second board member in Frederick County Public Schools who has volunteered their time to just say, hey, I believe in our students. I believe in our community. And I want to just do a little community service to show my story and to tell my story. And so thank you, Ms. Yoho, for being here today. I really appreciate your time. Our first question is really about your background and experiences. I know you as a woman who is leading in Frederick County as a board member, and I'm proud to watch your work, and I appreciate all of your commitment to our community. But tell me a little bit more about yourself and your background and experiences that led you to where you are today.
Well, Jeneen, thank you for having me today, and please call me Karen.
Okay.
I know I'm not really your boss because we really only have the superintendent and several other employees, but please call me Karen. So, I've lived a long life, and I was trying to think of how to make that answer a little bit short. So I think I'm just going to dive in and try to just give the high points. But I've lived a lucky, happy life. I was born in Nevada, fourth generation in Nevada. We moved east, my mom, dad, and I, so my dad could go to grad school at Johns Hopkins. And aside from 1 year when I was in ninth grade, we moved to Switzerland for his job. We've lived the rest of my life on the East Coast, various locations, but traveled a lot. Again, I've been very lucky, and a lot of that was due to my parents and how they raised my brother and myself. And moved to Damascus after we got back from Switzerland, where I met my husband. And
nice.
And we always say we moved to the far distant land of Monrovia, just across the county line when we started the family. And we've been in Eastern Frederick County ever since. We have 3 children and grown, and 4 grandchildren. I went to college as a traditional student and got my teaching certificate, my teaching degree. But in the late 70s, teaching positions were not easy to come by, especially in early childhood. And people don't believe it, but I was very shy back then. So I didn't put myself out there. I didn't really pursue things. I kind of let them happen. Decided to start a family. I was substituting, so stayed home with the 3 children, which afforded me the opportunity to be with them all the time. And I was a scout leader, both girls and boys, and or Cub Scouts, and softball coach for our daughters. And then I got into PTA early on. And that's really probably was my springboard to eventually becoming a board member. I did teach for 25 years, from 1993 to 2018, elementary. But I learned so much. Teachers are so busy, they don't have time to kind of learn about the background of the profession. And PTA really taught me about school funding and construction and things that don't always make sense as you look at them on the surface till you learn the deeper parts. And a few years ago, I said to my husband, someday I'm probably going to run for the Board of Ed. And it happened a little earlier than I thought, but it's been wonderful, and serving with a great group of people. So hopefully that's a shortened kind of version there, but
yeah, no, that was excellent. And one thing that I like about restorative practices is the fact that I get to make connections with people. I've trained over 199 people in the 2-day International Institute of Restorative Practices training in our district. And I've learned so much about, the different schools in our district and how wonderful they are, and the great things that the staff members in each building are doing. And so it's been a remarkable opportunity for me to see a bigger side. I too have aspirations of one day being a board member. And I shared that with my husband, and he was like, well, you need to keep the daytime job. And I was like, well, I have a passion for equity. And so, so we've had that conversation off and on. And I think that the things you mentioned, like the PTA, I've been in probably 7 schools so far, and each school's PTA, I guess, involvement was different. And
Mm-hmm.
like thinking about when I was in Montgomery County, Westland, and how it was in Bethesda. So the enormous amounts of money and after school programs that come in. And so I've only been in one school in Frederick County. And so Ballenger, we had an awesome PTSA as well. So it's just amazing how that can really be a driving force in your school community. And as we look at, kind of what's happening now with the pause and the continuation of learning in our district and how parents are helping out, and it's just amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And I actually moved to Frederick because of the cost of living, and so I'm familiar with Damascus and that area that you lived in. And I was a Girl Scout as well, so we have a few connections. It seems like you value family with having grandchildren and things like that. So that's awesome. And congratulations to you on your 25 years of teaching. That's definitely amazing, amazing, amazing. I am in year 20 of education, and
Wow.
I'm still loving it. It is like, you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right?
That's right. That's right.
So next question. Restorative practices teaches us to be reflective.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I would imagine that everybody is being pretty reflective because they're all like paused, and you have so many restrictions and so much time to think. So what have you been thinking about? What's been on your mind the most lately?
Well, as a board member, first and foremost has been the students. And, initially when everything started, it was right away, how are we going to get the kids fed? And people were saying, well, why didn't you do it sooner? Or why didn't you, whatever it was, but there had to be things put into place because we knew just stopping school the next day was going to leave a lot of students hanging out there with no support. So there had to be a lot of thought put into things, and I'm proud of the work we did. I'm on a committee with the State School Board Association, MABE, and so I get to monthly hear what's happening in other counties. And our superintendent is also frequently, probably weekly, with the other superintendents of the other counties. And so we're very much in touch with what's happening. I'm very proud of what we've been able to do, but it did take, some time and effort to put things in place. But that was my first thought. And then, of course, it becomes just keeping the students engaged and educated. And we know that there are going to be some students that never were able to log on or never wanted to log on, or if they did, weren't motivated. It's not the way they learn. And so I worry about that. What are the future impacts on our students?
Yeah, thank you. Great answers and thoughts, and it's something that I can relate to. Again, I thank God for our strategic planning in our school district, and not only are you strategically planning, but you're also collaborating. And so the planning that you do is not done in isolation. You have so many people on your committees when you're planning, and you're always looking for different voices to help you reflect on your planning process. So that's something I want to commend our district and our board on. Also, I see a lot with like cultural proficiency and the importance of allowing everyone's voice to be heard in our community. I think when I talk about restorative practices and the FAIR process and my trainings, I always brag on our out of districting process and how that really was the FAIR process in a, what could have been very contentious situation. We engaged stakeholders, we explained, and then we had expectation clarity. I mean, ultimately, when I brag on that FAIR process restorative, I talk about Frederick County's redistricting and how there was lots of engagements in all different schools. There were maps everywhere. People were like very clear explanation as to why you were doing it. And then finally the board made a decision. And I was there that night when, they were making that, and you still on that night allow people to testify and give input. And so it was just a really good example of the FAIR process and what restorative practices calls the FAIR process. So thank you for that. Of the things you just mentioned, what is the hardest thing for you? What's the hardest?
The hardest has been, I always think what pops to my mind first is just not getting to hug the grandchildren. And but as the weather's gotten nicer, they've been able to come over, and we keep our distance, but we've at least been able to see them. So the next thing that comes to my mind as far as difficulty for me personally, and for many others, is my parents and my husband's parents. And we're very lucky. All four of our parents are still
Wow.
alive and
That's a
doing very well.
blessing. Wow.
It is such a blessing, and living in their own houses. But as I speak with them, my parents actually will do Zoom.
Oh, nice.
Not my in-laws. My parents are in North Carolina. My in-laws are in Damascus, and we actually did get to see them from a distance outside with masks because they're in their early 90s. There was no way we were going to be responsible. We were dropping off a gift and they happened to be outside. It was so nice to speak with them, and I could tell, I think my father-in-law just wanted us to stay forever, and we couldn't do that. But with my parents, I very much hear them realizing their own mortality, and that this might be, the end of their life. And I find that very sad. They're basically all kind of locked in their houses and can't get together with family, really. So, and one of my good friend's mother, she has a picture of her with her hands on the window at her assisted living. And she's in her own apartment, which is a good situation, but she's lonely. And so that's the thing that probably makes me the saddest. Next, my husband's a business owner, and I've worked for him for the last, 11 years. I went half-time the last 9 years of my teaching and to work for him. And as though the business owners, that some business is going to change, and some businesses are never going to reopen. Some are going to be able to change with the times. But I know after going through the recession, how hard that was for our business. That it's just, the desperate situation it can put people in. So I hope for the best, but I know that people are forever impacted.
Wow, those are three really good points. Three things that I know are present on many, many people's mind. You think about, just your family. And in Frederick, I know there are a lot of transplants, meaning there are people that are not from Frederick, and so they have family across the country. And so that is definitely something that I can relate to, and I know that many people can relate to. And then your parents, oh my goodness, the thought that something might happen to your parents during this time and you not being able to really celebrate their life the way you would want to, or be there, or to have had opportunities recently to be with them.
Right.
Definitely. And then finally, you talk about business. And I know that, in the African American community, we're trying our best to kind of build up, supporting of our own, to just support our businesses, but also we're also trying to support Frederick businesses. And
Right.
there's a lot of small business owners that I really, worry about,
Mhm.
and so those are excellent points. So let's try to move over to something positive.
Okay.
But, as we think about all these, the impact of all that's going on around us, what are some things that you or your family or your grandchildren or your parents are doing to remain positive? Because people need to hear that. Like, what are some things that we can do to stay positive?
Well, it is funny. I've heard a lot of people saying they're reconnecting, either through Zoom or social media, and just, I've been communicating with a thread of people on Messenger. I've never met half the people, but we were already on a thread because of a mutual friend, and they've been a great source, of just being able to vent and talk about things. Politically, we're all very similar, and so that's been that group. And then I have other friends, and then some people I haven't communicated with for a while, and we're reconnecting. So that's been the positive part. Trying to get out and walk with our dogs. My husband's liked having me around, so I'm not usually home this much. So that's actually been nice. I turn out I'm more introverted than I thought, but I miss, the activities and not seeing people. I've seen the outpouring that people have done, as you said, trying to support businesses. I've seen a lot of things online. I've tried to help with that, financially where I could. And that seems to be positive. I've seen some positive comments from business owners in Frederick that those efforts have helped them. And then lately, through the horrific events with George Floyd, the country is in chaos, but I'm actually rose-colored glasses, hopeful that maybe we finally turned a corner and this is it, and people are finally actually going to make substantive changes. That is my hope, and I'm feeling very positive about that. Now we need to get out there. The board put out a statement, and I'm very proud of that. But one of the board members reminded us it can't just be a statement, it has to be followed up with action. So, let's get going. What can we do next that will actually make lasting and changes that will benefit our students and the community?
Absolutely. When I saw that Board of Education statement come out from the parent lens, it warmed my heart. And then the administrator lens, I was like, wow, this is real. We're making some serious changes. We're having some courageous conversations. And I was very proud on both levels, as an administrator working in a county and as a parent of 5 children, three stepchildren and 2. It was like, wow. And so just to talk briefly about what happened in Frederick recently with, I believe it was actually a TJ High School student and some of her friends who organized a rally that was said to have had almost 5,000 people present. And there is so much footage and pictures of that moment. And to see the diversity in the pictures, I think there were a lot of minorities out there, but there were a lot of non-minorities out there. And to me, that was so beautiful. They were there with their children. It was an unbelievable moment and a historic moment for Frederick. And I posted on my social media, "Good morning, America. Frederick is on the map. Look at us. Look at what we're doing together strong. One community, one nation, together strong." And it was just an amazing experience to watch. And I agree, like the caring. Jeneen Cares is about caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting. But the thing that I've been most impressed with the world is how much people are developing empathy and how they're being more available and vulnerable to be vulnerable, right? To speak out and feel and acknowledge. And like I said, I think the substantive changes are coming. I definitely am also wearing those rose-colored glasses. Like, we are going to do this. We are going to be the first district in our nation to close the achievement gap. We're going to make some great changes, and we're going to lead as we continue to do in Frederick County. So thank you so much. And so finally, what messages do you want to send to students? What messages do you want to send to parents? I am a proud class of 2020. Graduate mom. She's Tuscarora. Shout out to Cherie. She played field hockey. She was in the Future Business Leaders of America. She's going to Hampton University. And so FCPS proud mom here. Just, that's one of my celebrations. Thank you. What do you want to say to students? What do you want to say to parents?
Well, I happen to have been the board member that gave the speech for Tuscarora, and so you can watch that tomorrow, and those are some of my words. But I taught at Tuscarora Elementary, and my last class that I had there of 5th graders is graduating. So
oh my God,
hoping to reconnect, but things changed. Anyway, so congratulations to your family and your daughter, and very good. I always said to my own children and to my students, education gives you choices. And instead of just having to take what life gives you sometimes, education, again, my rose-colored glasses, a lot of teachers are idealistic. Why do we get into this? But we hope that it will give you the opportunity to have choices. In life and take those choices. I look at, you talked about the march in Frederick, look at those 4 students that organized it. Other than not wearing masks, the mother part comes in, but just so impressive. And we're getting emails from other students, some that have graduated, some that haven't, and they are feeling empowered and they're advocating for themselves. And I say, keep doing that. if you calmly, sometimes you can't be calm, but I like the people that are making the arguments in a calm manner, because that's what's persuaded me. I have some friends on social media that will yell at you on social media, and it's like, okay, that's not persuasive. The people that make the calm, rational arguments, they're changing my mind. And so these students, to see them advocating for themselves and doing so in such a respectful and mature and reasonable and dynamic manner, I say keep going, because you are persuasive and it gives me hope for the future. And to the parents, just keep supporting your kids. And I know it hasn't been easy, and we don't know what the future's bringing at this point, but hang in there. We're all going to do the best that we can. And we'll take advice. The superintendent has committees that are going to discuss. And I'd love to hear from teachers and parents about what they think we should do. And we are hearing from some, but if they have suggestions that maybe we can put into practice, I'd love to hear from them. So.
Awesome. And I don't mind facilitating circles, even virtually at some point. Right now I'm really busy with all the planning for next year and things like that. But at some point I wouldn't mind. I know that Claudia Hernandez and the Latino population really did something with parents and things. And so, yeah, keep me in mind if you want some facilitation of listening circles.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time. This was an amazing interview. I'm so excited to be able to get to know a little bit more about you and to be able to share your legacy leadership and the things that you've done and you are continuing to do, your mindset, your optimism with others. And so thank you for your time. I really appreciate all you do, and thank you for your legacy leadership. And I know that if you want to learn more about the Board of Education, you can go to our website, Frederick County Public Schools website, and there's plenty of information. There's plenty of resources there. There's resources about COVID and things like that. So definitely check out the website if you have any more questions. We also have a position, the ombuds, who is available to kind of be an in-between. And in my last interview with Mr. Mason, he kind of shared a little bit about that. So plenty of opportunities for you to be directly in touch with the leaders in Frederick County. And so parents and students and all those with opinions about things, please make sure you reach out directly and collaborate so that you can get questions answered. Thank you for your time. Students, remember to lead. Learn all that you can learn, empower others, and be around people that empower you. If somebody is not empowering you, you might want to change your circle. Also, act. But you need an action plan. And sometimes making an action plan requires you to seek out people who've done things before you. Don't try to do it on your own. Seek people that have been there already and get help, and then dream big. You can do anything you want in life. And so again, Jeneen from Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future. We want to thank Ms. Yoho or Karen for her time today. We really appreciate your leadership, and have a wonderful day.